Thank you for that. Thank you. So I want to start off telling you what I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then we'll get to the open mic portion of the section. I want to do an introduction of who I am and who Citizens for Sound Money is. I want to discuss what sound money is. Why is sound money a foundation of freedom? How can we bring freedom back through sound money? Then I'm going to promote some upcoming talks and events here at Porcfest, since we're one of the co-sponsors of the Alpine Gold Exchange tent. And then I'm going to open it up for a discussion. I like having a dialogue with everybody in the audience. So who am I? And the reason I'm starting off with my background is because our late founder, Senator Jim Forsyth, who was a state senator here, he was the founder of our organization. And when we've lobbied across the country, he said that I should always start off with my background, my family testimony, because it really informs people and the legislators of why I'm doing what I'm doing with Citizens for Sound Money. So my name is Daniel Diaz. I'm a first-generation Cuban American. And I grew up with hearing stories from my grandparents and my parents about how my family had wealth, had land, had businesses, farms in Cuba, and that was all taken away from them because of the communist state and Fidel Castro. My family fled Cuba in 1965 after my grandfather was arrested for giving some extra rations or cash to the butcher, or bribing the butcher to give him some extra meat. The communist police, if you don't know this about a communist state, every block has a communist informant. And if you break the rules of the state or the party, that communist informant informs the state police and they come and get you. Well, that's what happened. Somebody found out my grandfather paid extra for some meat. The state police came, threw him in jail for a few days. He came back and he told our family, we need to pack up right now and leave. So we got a flight, my family got a flight in 1965 from Havana, Cuba, to Miami. When they got to the airport, the state confiscated literally everything that they had on them, jewelry, clothes, watches, and all they came to America with was literally the clothes on their back. And if it wasn't for friends and family in Miami, my family would have been living on the streets. So my grandfather and my family had a construction company in Cuba because they came here with nothing. They're brand new to this country, only spoke Spanish. My grandfather had to start at the bottom of a construction company pouring cement sidewalks in Miami at the construction company. And that's what he did for the first few years. To make ends meet, my family, my mom, my aunt, my grandmother, my grandfather lived in a small studio apartment in Hialeah, Florida. And to make ends meet, there's a Spanish grocery store called Sedano's down south. And my grandmother would go buy pies, cut it up, put it in saran wrap, and sell it for $0.25 to just able to make ends meet. Long story short, my family's country provided them the opportunity to build wealth and build companies. And then it was all taken away because of socialism and communism. They came here, and this country provided my family the exact same thing, the American dream. And my grandfather started off pouring cement in the 60s, worked himself through that construction company, eventually bought that construction company, sold it in the 80s for millions, retired in his 50s, and left my family and I an inheritance because of his hard work and the opportunities that America provided, the American dream. So hearing the stories of my family, hearing the atrocities of socialism and communism, I decided at the age of 16 that I was going to dedicate my life to preventing what happened to my family's country from happening in my country. So I promised myself I'll never allow socialism and communism to creep up in this country, and I'll do everything within my power to prevent it. So that's my background and my story. That eventually led to me working in politics as a political consultant, running campaigns, working on gubernatorial, senatorial, presidential campaigns, everything from municipal all the way up to presidential, and running super PACs for the last 23 plus years. I took a sabbatical, a 3-year sabbatical, to get my master's in government with a concentration in public administration and political theory. While I was going to grad school, I was a full-time insurance agent. Eventually, I became a stockbroker. So that education, not just political philosophy, but that education on finance, the insurance side of things, and then getting my Series 7 and understanding working for a boutique stockbroker, taught me the fiat economic system. And one thing I really walked away with in my education of being a stockbroker was that fiat currency made the world go round. Mortgage-backed securities, I learned about options, bonds, and so forth. So I had a much better understanding of finance even after my being an insurance agent. I was in Wall Street, well, backtrack. As an insurance agent, I was an insurance agent for the Knights of Columbus, and our main focus was, Knights of Columbus is the fraternal order for Catholics, and we would sell life insurance to our brother Knights. And the sole focus was to fulfill what true and undefiled religion is, take care of orphans and widows, right? Provide life insurance for our brother Knights so that their wives, widows, and their children won't be desolate. So I came into the financial world looking to help people preserve their wealth and help their families. Then I went to Wall Street. I could only stand there for 5 months because all people cared about on Wall Street was the almighty dollar and worshiping the wealth. And I did not want that. So I left the Wall Street, which, I'm pretty much the scum of the earth, and went back into politics. I kind of think it's funny. I went from one thing to the other, and they're both pretty bad. But then COVID hit. I've been an entrepreneur ever since then. I had a direct mail marketing company. I did, that annoying political mail you get, those robocalls, texts, and everything. I'm sorry, I'm responsible for that too. I did that for well over a decade. But I had that. I had a car rental company, a few other things. And during COVID, my business partner and I, she's actually here. She's at the Sound Money tent volunteering. She's like, hey, we should look into Bitcoin. And now, mind you, I was trained in fiat economy. And I'm like, Bitcoin? Why would I support Bitcoin? That is no different than the tulip situation, in the Netherlands. It's nothing backing it. It's fake. And then for months, this was March, to give you an idea, it was March of 2020. Bitcoin was around $5,000, give or take, before the next rush. And I'm kicking myself. I think everybody has a story like that. I could have bought Bitcoin at $5 or whatever, and we're all kicking ourselves. But don't worry, it gets better. So for about 5 months, my business partner was trying to convince me to buy Bitcoin, invest some of her business capital into it. And eventually she partnered up with a buddy of mine who was also a Bitcoin maxi. And I just said, stop. Listen, I'm never going to buy Bitcoin. I don't believe in it. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear any more about it. So Dan, my other buddy, called me. He's like, hey, let me show you 2 videos. And after these 2 videos, if you're not convinced of the power of Bitcoin, we'll stop talking to you. I'm like, fine. I didn't even need to watch the second video. The first video was Don Tapscott. I think it's how blockchain is changing the world or the economy. And what really got me wasn't all the privacy. It wasn't the self-custody. It wasn't all the things we love and know about Bitcoin. What stood out to me the most about Don Tapscott's talk was that near the end, when he was talking about the fact that blockchain technology, we can put actual documents on the blockchain and it's immutable, you can't delete it. And he was talking about land deeds and titles. And that we could eventually put land deeds and titles on the blockchain to prove ownership of real world assets like real estate. And he said most of the world's population, he's like 70% of the world's population have tenuous titles and deeds. That means you don't own the land. The government is just leasing it to you. In China, you can get a 99-year lease for your land. You don't actually own it. He said, and he would give an example in Nicaragua where there was the communist revolt, and what happened was they took the land deeds and titles from the government, destroyed it, put their communist friends' names on the land titles and deeds, drove with trucks with guns to the landowners like, hey, your paper might say that you own this land, but the government paper says my friend owns the land, get off, right? And that's what happened to my family in Cuba. So immediately I'm like, holy crap. If blockchain technology existed in the 1950s, my family could have proven that we owned the land, we owned the businesses, we owned all these things on the blockchain, and when the communist regime was overthrown, we could either get our land back or get reparations for the assets that were stolen from us. So it made me realize that blockchain technology could provide more freedom economically, politically, and personally than any political activity of man. So this happened in September of 2020. I invested in my first cryptocurrency in Bitcoin in October. I went down the rabbit hole and I wanted to learn what mining was. I started mining Ethereum in November, and by January 1st or January of 2021, I started Mining Life, a Bitcoin and blockchain consulting company. And I just went down the rabbit hole and learned how to do it, learned the hard lesson, how to build mining operations and so forth. But That was during the bull market. Everybody's a genius during the bull market. Everybody makes a lot of money. I didn't know as a crypto miner that there were cycles, 2-year cycles up and down. So I did not prepare. I didn't transfer my Bitcoin and put it into gold or somewhere to preserve my purchasing power. I rode almost all the way down from, I think it was 69 down to 30, because I was told hodl, hodl, hodl. Well, I'm a little more wiser now when it comes to investing because I'm a crypto miner. I understand this 2-year cycles now, right? 2-year bull market, 2-year bear market, plus or minus 100 days. Now, how does this all tie into sound money? Well, I invested in the NFT craze. And I doubled my money in a good NFT project. And then there was a platform called NFTFi. I started giving high interest loans on NFTs like Bored Ape Yacht Club and so forth. And there's a Discord channel. I was talking to some more experienced guys who do loans because I had a 90-day loan. And like, whoa, get out of that. Get out of 90-day loans because you never know what NFT project is going to tank. But one bad news of a founder and your bag is going to go to zero. So you do short-term loans. And that got me thinking. This was November of 2022. In December, I'm like, how can I prevent an NFT from losing all value? How can I prevent a digital asset from going down to zero? So I called one of my development buddies. I'm like, hey, is it possible to tie asset-backed digital currencies or gold currencies like PAX-G to an NFT to guarantee a floor price? He's like, absolutely. Great. So how do I get around the Howey test with securities? Because if you receive a passive yield, it's automatically a security. So we discussed with some attorneys, and I needed to figure out how I could airdrop Bitcoin and digital gold to somebody's wallet without it being a security, and we figured it out. We would do an education learn-to-earn platform where you learn about sound money principles and financial literacy, because that's something that I learned that a lot of people are lacking. They don't understand what money is. They don't understand how to save or invest. And I wanted to create a platform that incentivized people to learn and improve their financial footing and receive, when they pass the quiz every month, Bitcoin and gold. But I didn't know anything about sound money. I knew sound money from a Bitcoin perspective, but I did not know it from the traditional gold and silver perspective. So I started looking for partners. And one of the first groups that popped up on the internet when I typed in sound money was Citizens for Sound Money. And I emailed them, and it went to Marion Ward, the former executive director of Citizens for Sound Money, and our late chairman, Jim Forsyth. And I said, hey, I'm launching a gold-backed NFT project where we airdrop Bitcoin and gold, told them the whole spiel. And it's like, yeah, let's talk. We talked, and Jim Forsyth was so impressed with my story, my Cuban story. If you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see my first interview with them before I was even working with them. And he said that story right there about my family resonated with him and why he wanted to bring me on board with Citizens for Sound Money. Because when he was in his 20s, traveled to the Soviet Union in the 80s. And he experienced the Soviet communism, and that's why he came back, joined the Air Force, and wanted to fight communism through the military. He joked in his speeches, he joked that the same week he joined the Air Force, Reagan said, tear down this wall, and the whole Soviet Union started to collapse. He thinks it was him joking that he would join the Air Force and the Soviet Union collapsed because he did it. It was a joke that Jim used to tell when he would give speeches. But that really started my sound money education, because I'd like you guys to partner with me and help educate my NFT holders on sound money and financial literacy. And I asked, how can I learn more? And Jim pointed me to a series called Hidden Secrets of Money. Any of you heard of the series Hidden Secrets of Money? 1, 2, 3 people. If you have not seen Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money, it's a 10-episode series. It goes through the entire history of money, gold, silver, how the Federal Reserve was created, how currency is created. It completely changed my life. I mean, I already had an understanding of finances. I understood Bitcoin, but Hidden Secrets of Money did a complete paradigm shift from me thinking in a dollar derivative economy to thinking of gold and silver as a central monetary unit to everything else, real world assets, food, clothes, everything. When you look at the world as gold being the center of the financial universe, everything else makes sense. How the government is stealing our wealth makes sense. How the Federal Reserve with printing and inflation is theft. And it just makes you realize what we're living under, the foundational problems of enslavement of humanity, is from the fiat economic system, because it is derived from socialism and communism. And I told you that I dedicated my life at the age of 16 to prevent what happened in my family's country from happening in my country. And it breaks my heart when I'm traveling around the country pushing sound money legislation to make gold and silver legal tender, because I talked to people working in the hotels, Uber drivers, and the first time I lobbied for the Sound Money Act, which is what we do at Citizens for Sound Money. Citizens for Sound Money is a 501c4 organization that promotes the use of gold and silver and protects people's right to do so through the advocacy of legislation. So last year, with our coalition of organizations, we have the Missouri Freedom Initiative, the founder, Patrick Holland, he is helping us at the tent. We have Economic War Room with Kevin Freeman and Mike Carter. We have the Sound Money Defense League with JP Cortez and us. Our 4 organizations combined helped get legislation submitted, sound money legislation, into 27 states this last legislative session. Yes, yes, and right there, Dr. David Schlereth, he is one of the biggest sound money advocates in the country. Nobody knows about him. He's secret. He's kind of like the sound money cabal, but he's the man right there. He knows everybody. He connected me with Ron Spacey. He connected me with Patrick, Eric Brakey. This guy right here knows everybody in sound money. And where was I? Somebody throw me a clue. Seeing David threw me off. Oh, Citizens for Sound Money. So 27 states. Unfortunately, of those 27 states, only 8 states got something passed. And a majority of those states only got rid of capital gains or sales tax. We got it in 8 states. And we got Louisiana to make gold and silver legal tender. So now there are 6 states in the union that recognize gold and silver as legal tender. Utah, Wyoming, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. Wyoming. Yes, and they did that last year. So we're trying to get all the states in the union to recognize gold and silver as legal tender. And you ask why? Well, it goes beyond just making gold and silver legal tender. What is the Sound Money Act, and what is Citizens for Sound Money pushing? What is Patrick Holland right there? He is the founder of the Missouri Freedom Initiative. We worked really hard to try to get the Constitutional Money Act passed. So what is the Constitutional Money Act that they call it in Missouri? What is the Sound Money Act? It does 3 things. The first thing it does, it makes gold and silver legal tender and gets rid of all tax liabilities in the purchase and sale of gold and silver. The second thing it does is sets up the state depository, whether the state builds it or contracts with private solutions like Brinks to hold the gold and silver within the territorial borders. And then within that same framework, we ask the state to put a percentage of their general fund into gold and silver to protect their purchasing power. And then the third thing, which I think is the most important thing, is of the Sound Money Act, it makes gold and silver transactional again. It makes digital gold and silver backed tokens or digital gold and silver databases, spending systems, legal tender, so that gold and silver becomes functional again. It's one thing to make gold and silver legal tender. You know, we have gold backs. Gold backs is a great system, but to get the whole country on at the same time, they don't have the production capabilities right now to turn on, let's say, a state of Florida and have enough gold backs for a whole state of economy. So it has to be a slow rollout, or there has to be huge investments into Valorum, which is the actual manufacturing company that makes these orums like Goldback, to build up capacity to make enough goldbacks for physical functional money. But even physical functional money, a goldback right now, 1/1000th of an ounce is almost $5. I mean, there's things that you can buy for $2 or whatever, so you still need a fiat currency. So the solution is electronic currency. When you can start using gold and silver electronically and becomes functional, there is an actual legal argument that it is considered a functional money according to IRS code, an IRS code within what they call a qualified business unit. A qualified business unit is a business that uses foreign currencies for their primary business operations, and they don't have to convert it into dollars. They can just do the dollar derivatives, and when you spend that fiat currency to buy real-world assets, and even though it's in dollar-derived currency, there's no capital gains. So there is a legal theory that's backed up by some Supreme Court rulings and state cases that federal income tax, capital gains tax is nullified once you make gold and silver functional. And that's why we believe at Citizens for Sound Money, the electronic gold and silver legal tender is one of the most important aspects of our legislation. And that's why I said, unfortunately, only 8 states passed it and only 1 made it legal tender. Not a single state in the union recognizes electronic gold and silver as legal tender. And that's what we're trying to push so we can get rid of all taxes on our money. Because if you don't know this, capital gains is a inflation tax. You're basically, if you bought, let's say, gold at $1,800 and now it's $2,300 and you sell that gold, they're taxing you on the devaluation of the dollar. It's a double tax, right? They're not taxing you because gold has actually gone up. Gold is an inert piece of metal. You can sit it there and stare at it for 1,000 years and it's not going to do anything. It doesn't earn interest. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there, and it's a great preservation of wealth, because who knows, maybe the gold I'm wearing was robbed out of an Egyptian tomb and turned into jewelry, and maybe I'm using it. Gold is incorruptible. It's a perfect form of money. So let me go back to my notes. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Is that asset-backed digital currency backed one-to-one with gold?
Great question. Yes, great question. Yeah, so the question was the asset-backed digital currency aspect of our legislation. He wants to know, is that gold and silver token backed one-to-one with gold and silver? The answer is yes. And there are quite a few companies out there that do this, and they audit their vaults. So you have PaxG and Tether Gold. And these are asset-backed digital currencies, but they're not really functional, because what our founder, the late Jim Forsyth, wanted to define as an asset-backed digital currency is a gold and silver token backed one-to-one that was redeemable at lower quantities. The problem with PaxG and Tether Gold is you have to redeem 400 ounces, which is just under $1 million. The average person can't do that. But you have companies like Kinesis, Load, Glint, that you can redeem as little as 100 grams or 1 ounce of gold or 20 ounces of silver, which is a lot more in line with what you want to buy as minimums as well in the physical markets. So what these companies, Load, Kinesis, Glint, do is they have their gold and silver in vaults around the world, around the country, and they're audited either 4 times or 2 times a year by a third-party auditing solution to guarantee, because I know third-party risk is a big thing with Bitcoiners, right? Like, we don't want third-party risk. But unfortunately, to make gold and silver functional again, there has to be some type of third-party risk. And by having a private solution that can be taken to court, right, and thrown to prison for stealing our wealth, that is probably the best way, because we know we can't trust the government, because we had a gold standard with the government, and what did they do? They printed more currency. It's so much so that we had to get off the gold standard, because other countries that sent us their gold to protect it during World War II wanted their gold back, like France and others. And then, you know, Kissinger's like, hey, Nixon, if these countries keep asking for their gold back, they're sending their dollars in bearer on demand for the gold, we're going to run out of gold in Fort Knox. We need to stop this nonsense of countries redeeming their gold. And that's why we got off the gold standard. Because the United States wasn't responsible with the people's money or the other nations' money. They printed more currency so they can fund their Vietnam wars and all their other wars. And let me tell you, the military-industrial complex is kept alive because of the dollar. Because before we got off the gold standard, for a country to go to war, there has to be consent by the people, because the government couldn't just print gold and silver. They needed taxes to pay for the soldiers and the equipment to go to war. So they will issue gold and silver war bonds. And if we as Americans thought that the war was just, we would then turn in our gold, and then we would get these war bonds to fund our military to go to war. So there's a saying in Bitcoin, fix the money, fix the world. I believe it's the exact same thing with gold and silver. If we fix the money, we will fix the world. We'll fix the spending, the deficit spending in the government. We'll fix the military-industrial complex and the constant wars. Most of the platforms of the Libertarian Party will be solved if we get back to sound money. And we have a banner that says sound markets require sound money, and it's 100% true. And sound money cannot be stolen from us. If you have gold and silver in your safe or your digital bank account, the government can't just print more of it and steal our wealth. And that's what they do every single day. So if you have a lot of dollars in your bank account and your stock, your exchange accounts or whatever, your wealth is being stolen. The government officially says inflation is around 3%. Shadow Stat says it's officially around 12%. Let's split the difference. Let's say it's more like 7% or 6%. If you're not earning a minimum of 6 to 7%, and I personally think it's 12%, you're losing your purchasing power every single second of every single day, because as they print $1 trillion just to pay the interest every 100 days, that's more currency devaluing and debauching the currency, and we are losing our wealth. So sound money is really the only solution. And how do we bring freedom back? The Sound Money Act. Citizens Sound Money, we are what Jim Forsyth, our founder, did. And probably what you don't know about the gold and silver industry is that the gold and silver industry is very cutthroat. It's almost like a pure competitive market if you know economics. And it's very easy to get in if you have the cash and you can sell gold and silver, and the margins are really, really small, so people don't like working with each other. But Jim Forsyth, who was a state senator here, he served one term. He made, through his efforts in New Hampshire, New Hampshire was the first Republican state to make medical marijuana legal, and he also was the one that pushed forth the school credit, or the school tax credit system. That was Jim Forsyth, and what he wanted to do, and what he did was bridge the gap, and he was a bridge builder. And he made relationships. He was able to bring pretty much the entirety of the gold and silver community to work with Citizens Sound Money for a common cause, the Sound Money movement. Because Jim left a great paying job. Jim, he was one of the smartest guys I think anyone has ever met. He saved the military hundreds of billions of dollars because he had a PhD in fluid dynamics, not just water, but also airflow, right? Fluid dynamics. Essentially, to save the military money from crashing helicopters and planes, he created a software so accurate that when all the parameters are put in for the planes and the helicopters, it could predict the wind flow and figure out why helicopters are crashing, and to save lives and to save actual hardware equipment, instead of using actual prototypes, they plugged it into his software, and they were able to fix the plane and fix the helicopters before they even built it, because it was almost 100% accurate the way the wind and the water flowed with ships and so forth. So that's the type of mind he was. He was making quite a bit of money, but he left that job in 2021 to start Citizens Sound Money because he loved Ron Paul. He was the state chair of the Ron Paul 2012 campaign. He worked with Ron Paul in 2008, and when he read End the Fed, it completely changed his life. And he started Citizens Sound Money because he knew that we could free humanity. We could save humanity through sound money, through Citizens Sound Money. In the first 2 years, you really haven't heard about us because they were building a war chest, because he knew at some point we were going to push the legislative efforts. And that's what we did this last year and this year. And unfortunately, on March 15th, Jim passed away. With a tragic accident in Florida when we were celebrating some victories, legislative victory. And it's hard because Jim was a great friend, and he was the best boss I've ever had in my life. We saw eye to eye. When we lobbied together for the first time, it was here in New Hampshire. We had Representative Keith Amon, Representative Yuri Harvey Bolia. They were the co-sponsors of the Sound Money Act. And I remember sitting in his son's apartment and just watching him and listening to him and his beliefs. And I saw him. I'm like, this man's the next Ron Paul. And I told him in his son's apartment, I'm like, in 4 to 5 years, after we start changing the world, after we start changing the country, I'm going to run your congressional campaign for Congress because you're the next Ron Paul. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. and then he just pushes glasses up and looks like, maybe. You know, he kind of giggled and was like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll run for Congress. But he was such an amazing man. He was truly the next Ron Paul. And if you know anybody that knew Jim Forsyth, they will tell you the exact same thing. When you met Jim, he left an indelible mark on your soul. And I think that's why he was so successful in spreading the sound money movement. And the company Kinesis that I mentioned earlier, Citizens for Sound Money works with all these companies, but Jim and the CEO, Kinesis, had a really close relationship. And Kinesis has a mint. And to commemorate Jim's life, they created some orums. And they created a 1 ounce silver coin in memory of Jim Forsyth. It says man of peace because Forsyth means man of peace in Gaelic. And it also says founding father of the sound money movement, because what Jim Forsyth did was he sparked the flame of freedom for the sound money movement. And even after his passing, we're picking up that torch and we're running 100 miles an hour straight forward to bring freedom and liberty through the sound money movement to America, not just America, to around the world. We have Citizens for Sound Money Turkey. We have plans to open up Citizens for Sound Money Canada, and we're looking to bring the sound money movement globally around the world to basically save humanity. So that's pretty much the end of my talk. But before I open it up for questions, I need to be a little selfish and plug Citizens for Sound Money events. I'm the first speaker. We're going to have 2 other speaking engagements. 5 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to have Rob Keens. He's one of our board members. He's formerly the founder of Gold Silver Pros. He's speaking at 5 o'clock about I don't have a flyer, but I think dollar alternative currencies. So after the dollar collapses, he's going to talk about the alternative currencies that are possible. On Friday night, we're going to have End the Fed fundraising happy hour. It's $50. You'll be entered into a door prize to win some silver, gold. We're also going to have silent auctions of gold and silver collectibles and jewelry. So if you want to come support what we're doing, please come. This is all fundraiser for Citizens for Sound Money, so we can continue doing our work. And then on Saturday morning, we have a panel. So myself, Patrick Holland, Aaron Day, and I think maybe one other person, we're going to have a panel here. And during that panel at 8:30 in the morning, we're going to be selling burritos, breakfast burritos. We have 375 chorizo burritos, 125 veggie burritos, and we're going to be selling water. And we're going to be doing that from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. right here, and then we'll move over back to the tent right before the Ron Paul presentation. So if you want to get some great burritos and support a great cause, please come and support us on Friday night at the happy hour, and come support us on Saturday morning. So, after plugging myself, if anybody has any questions, if you want to discuss anything, please come up to the mic.
Daniel, just to clarify, so the asset-backed digital currency that's backed 100%, 1-to-1 by gold and silver,
Yeah.
is that redeemable? Can I take my digital tokens and go to a depository and walk out with physical gold or silver?
When they have those partnerships, yes, but you can submit those digital tokens within the redemption part of their websites, and then they will mail you your physical gold and silver. Or you can pick it up at one of the vaults, like they have a vault, Kinesis has a vault in New York. If you want to drive from where we are in the country to pick up your silver because you don't trust the mailing system, or pick up your gold, you can do that.
Do you propose, will the auditing system for the asset-backed digital currency, will the auditing system involve blockchain technology?
For some companies, yes. Like Load uses chain analysis with Brinks. Brinks has some more high-tech vaults that keep track of things. Kinesis, they keep track of the gold and silver through blockchain technology, but I'm not exactly sure how they keep track of the vaults. But yes, some companies have blockchain solutions within the physical vaults, others don't. Others are planning on adding it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Let's just say that I'm not really big into a digital solution for gold and silver. That's not the case, but I'm playing devil's advocate. Can you speak to UPMA?
Yeah.
Do they audit their vaults? Now, that's all physical. They don't have digital, well, actually with their ATM card, I believe they
Yeah.
do have a digital version. Can you speak to the UPMA solutions?
Yeah.
For both for auditing their vaults and also what's possible with them? And can I set up an account with them even though they don't have a vault in my state?
Yeah, of course. I can talk to that. I'm not the expert. If you want to speak to the expert, that's Adam Van in the Alpine Gold tent, but I've had enough interactions with him and the CEO of Alpine Gold and UPMA. I can tell you as much as I know. So if you are into physical gold and silver, what you can do is you can actually ship or take your physical gold and silver over to to Alpine Gold, which is the official distributor for Goldbacks and the UPMA, and then they can take that in and they'll convert your physical bullion into gold dollars or silver eagles or gold eagles, and then they'll be deposited into your account. And the UPMA account, UPMA is basically like a gold and silver bank. They're not a bank, they're a repository, but they're a 501c6 membership organization, which means it's a trust. So your account is a trust account, and you don't have to just put gold and silver. You can put any asset. So once you become a member of the UPMA, you can print out the trust document and you can add any asset, your car, your house, your RV, whatever you want, into the trust, and it will be protected on that. It's a revocable trust that they actually provide for you as a member of the UPMA. And yes, you can also make a yield. A big issue that the modern monetary theorists, MMT theorists, push on gold and silver is you can't earn any yields. Well, that's not the case anymore. You have the UPMA where you can actually do a multi-year lease or a one-year lease where you can earn between 2 to 3.5%. And you can do that through Monetary Metals and a few other companies that provide yields. But yes, you can deposit it, and then if you want, you can actually load a debit card, and as long as you deposit more than $1,000 a month into your UPMA account and you convert it into gold, there is no fee for using the debit card. You can spend your gold and silver like cash, and there's other companies that do that. Glint Pay does that, Kinesis in Europe does that, so does Load, but they'll be coming Q3 so Americans can have a debit card and spend their gold and silver like cash also and through their systems.
Okay, thank you. One more question, if you...
Yeah.
Legislatively, I've had some folks come up to me and say, we don't have to get legislation for gold and silver in our state because it's already in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And it is, Article 1, Section 10. However, can you speak to why it's important to get legislation done in these states, particularly ones that have sales tax or capital gains tax?
Yeah.
And thank you very much.
Absolutely. So that's an argument that I hear a lot with goldbacks, right? Like, well, goldbacks are specie legal tender instruments. You can use them in any state. Yeah, technically, but those of us in this room are the weird minority in the world. We understand what sound money is. We use goldbacks because we understand that it's really valuable. But the majority, they need a little nudge from the government saying, hey, this is legal tender, we'll accept taxes and we'll accept your fees and so forth in gold and silver. And I mean, that is a real issue. That's a real practical issue because there's a lot of people that still trust the government. I think everybody in here is wiser, right? We don't really trust the government, right? Boo, right. So that is one of the bigger reasons. But really the main reason is we're the only country in the world that allows a province or a state within a greater national border that allows states the autonomy and authority in the national constitution to make gold and silver coin legal tender for the payment of debts. We're the only country in the world where the states can make gold and silver money again without the approval of the federal government. And that's why we're not lobbying DC. I personally have no hope in DC. And really, if we can get 26, 27 states to make gold and silver legal tender and create a parallel economy side by side, not replacing the Federal Reserve, but creating competition between the Federal Reserve and real money that the people chose, and it's also constitutional, then I think we can actually overthrow the Federal Reserve and force the federal government to reconsider the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 and get back to a gold and silver standard. Yeah, even the dog's barking, right? So let me just tell a little stories about some of our lobbying efforts. And I want to make something very clear. I know all of you understand the corruption of government, but I don't know, how many of you actually lobbied? before. Four people, 3 people. All right, so for those that have never lobbied before, it's a lot worse than you think. The corruption is so bad. So we were in 27 states. We submitted the Sound Money Act in maybe half of those states. And it died in every single one, and why? Why did it die here in the Finance Committee in New Hampshire? Why did it even get a chance to get a hearing in Florida? Why did the Speaker of the House of Missouri kill the bill? Why did the leadership in South Carolina not even bring the bill up? Because it's pretty much the exact same problem in every single state. It's not that the state legislature is not in favor of it. In fact, we had a majority of Republicans and even Democrats, not majority Democrats, but we've had Democrats, bipartisan support in every single state where we submitted the Sound Money Act or legislation. The problem is leadership. And what do I mean by leadership? The head of the party or the head of a committee that takes orders from the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, or the governor. And it has been 100% of the time, our legislation has been killed by the governor, the Speaker of the House, or the Senate President. And it's because of self-interest, and they did not receive any money from us nonprofits like they do from special interests and other lobbying organizations like banking, insurance, military-industrial complex. You name the special interest group, they have hundreds of millions of dollars set aside strictly for lobbying. And there's 2 ways to effectuate change. There's 2 ways to effectuate change in government: through grassroots or through donations and money, right? Like if we give $50,000 to the super PAC of a governor, he's gonna, when we pick up the phone like, hey, remember that bill that got through the House and Senate? You better not veto it. Remember, we gave you $50,000. Typically they listen, because unfortunately, money is the mother's milk of politics, and it's a legal bribe when you give money to their PACs to help them get elected, because most politicians, not statesmen like Ron Paul, most politicians, all they care about is power, influence, and money. And that's it. That's the reality of American politics today. And that's why we have a super PAC called the Economic Freedom PAC that we just launched, so that we can raise money and help kick out these bastards and get in our friends that are sound money advocates, so we can start getting these bills passed through. Because unless we start playing ball like the world plays ball, we're not going to get what's bills out there that help, because they don't care. Quote from the Speaker of Placard of Missouri: he doesn't care that if they add a bunch of things onto a bill that it violates the Constitution of Missouri, because in the Constitution, a bill can only be a single subject bill. And he's like, you know what, I don't care. Take it to court, and then you'll be stuck in the courts for 2 years, and I'll be gone, and there will be nothing to happen. I'm like, but this is gonna help the people. He's like, I don't care, every bill helps the people. He's like, what are you gonna do about it? This is the American political process. And to make change, we have to raise money. We have to have boots on the ground. And we're at the tip of the spear. The Missouri Freedom Initiative, Economic War Room, Citizens for Sound Money, and the Sound Money Defense League, we are at the tip of the spear of trying to bring freedom back economically, because I think the foundation of freedom is based on economics. You name one thing you can do without money. Bartering, anything, right? A medium exchange, unit account. Almost nothing. Because we have developed to where we are because of the ability of just weights and measures to be able to transfer and do business with one another through a voluntary system and a voluntary basis. And if we fix the money, we can fix the world. And that is my basic motto right now. So, oh yes, okay. So this is the lovely Jennifer Faubert, another selfish plug, and.
Hello, everyone. So talking about money, we can use some money to move forward. You want to support us? Please consider a few options. We got 50-50 raffles. I think it was Tuesday. The winnings was $132. But we're also giving you gold backs. We have a End the Fed. I already shared that. Let's share it again. Okay. Let's share it again, because we remember, if we hear repetition, we remember. I'm not used to being on a forum like this. But so we have End the Fed's happy hour. We're going to have an incredible auction.
Yes, silent auctions.
Silent auctions. Okay, so we can. We'd love to see you there. But even more important, we have a breakfast that's happening before Ron Paul. We're selling Gourmet burritos are $15 a piece. I heard last year they had about 200 people waiting in line for that. So it's first come, first serve, and we're going to be raising money with those as well. So please come out. Is this being broadcast?
Yes.
Okay, super. Anyone who is passionate about Daniel's talk, who's passionate about Patrick, who's passionate about our mission, come out. I don't care if you're a state away or 5 states away. Get in your car, come out, meet us. Come and speak to us. Come and speak to us. I got stuff I can give you. We're also giving some free silver away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you come to our talk on Saturday, 8:30, and stay for the whole panel, we will give you your certificate to receive a digital silver ounce through Kinesis. So let's give a lovely round of applause to Jennifer for that. All right, so I got about 8 minutes left. Anybody else have any thoughts, questions, metaphysical revelations that they've had during the talk? Anything? Okay, there we go. Oh wait, yeah, you.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh, he's been trying to raise his hand.
Okay, one more. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so I am selling tickets for breakfast. We're in the tent over here. You can, you don't have to wait in line. Come and get tickets from me, and you'll be set for breakfast and the talks tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes.
I wanted to emphasize something that you said.
Yeah.
I've spent many, many hours in the Massachusetts General Court either lobbying or testifying for a moratorium on foreclosures so that we could investigate the banking scam.
Yeah.
And everybody that we talked to, every member of the Finance Committee agreed that it was a really good idea, and they would tell us it won't
Representative
happen.
Hunt.
It won't happen.
Yeah. That the Representative Hunt is the chairman. He
Eldridge
actually killed the
was-
Sound Money Act here, by the way.
I haven't done it in years. It was Eldridge, for the most part, that we were talking. And after one of these testimonies, we were outside, and the banking lobbyist came up to us, and he says, "I love you guys. We really need what you want, but you have to understand, the banking system is so entrenched, you will never succeed."
Yeah.
I stopped lobbying.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the banking lobby is very clever too. Like, we had a banking lobby fight against us in Florida. I'm pretty sure they are the ones that tried to convince the Senate President Pasadomo not to bring up the bill. I've personally encountered a lobbyist from J.P. Morgan who was trying to pretend he didn't know anything about finance, and then I later found out he was just pretending because he didn't tell me he was a lobbyist for J.P. Morgan. I later found out through another lobbyist. I'm like, oh, interesting. He's just trying to get to know me and butter me up to learn more. So they're very clever. The banking lobby is out there trying to stop this. But overall, local banks, it's not the local banks that are against this, it's the national banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank Group, because they're the ones benefiting the most from the Federal Reserve and making money off of the bonds and selling it to the Federal Reserve for profit and so forth. Local regional banks and credit unions, they're probably in favor of this because this is probably another opportunity for them to make money if they're able to contract with one of these asset-backed digital currency companies, integrate their API so that you can turn your dollars into gold and silver immediately and use their debit card, because there are banks in the US right now with like Limp Pay that do that. They provide a bank account, they can wire transfer, ACH, cash, or use your debit card to buy gold and silver. They issue a debit card, it looks just like this. This is the Glint card. And today, if you wanted to, you could be in a sound money economy using a debit card with an FDIC bank, spending your gold and silver like cash. Real money that's gonna go up in value as the dollar decreases. So, yes.
Yeah, I just had a thought. I've been debanked by B of A. Sure, a bunch of us
Yeah.
have
Me too.
similar experiences.
Yeah.
And a friend has said, well, there is Old Glory Bank. They're a bank for the debanked. Have you thought about unifying the gold-silver standard with the banks for the debanked?
Yes, I can't talk about what I know with some of the companies because I'm under an NDA, but I can say in the future there's some companies that are going to be bringing banking solutions to the U.S. specifically for gold and silver. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
This is just a question. I'm not challenging what you're doing, but you talked about forming a super PAC and using money that you raised that way, that's working within the system. So how do you guard against like attracting people who just want to use your money and co-opt and act like they're on your side, but then like being influenced by the corrupting influences of the system right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's always people who are good con artists, even in government, that will pretend to be supporters of your issue just to get your money. We get that. And if they go back on us, then we use that exact same money that we raised to the soup PAC to get them out of office. I mean, that's the only thing they really understand, right? They want to stay in office so they can get the power, the influence, and even maybe the insider information to make trades and be a part of other companies that they think are going to go up because they're looking to lobby for their business, right? That's how this is not why politicians make money. They get insider information because there's companies trying to change the law that law will benefit them, and they're like, oh, that's an interesting. Let me buy their stock, So if let's say they fool me, like I'm the treasurer of the super PAC, we have 2 other members. The chairman of C4SM is a treasurer and also a business partner that's done super PACs with me for a long time. I got 1 minute left. We'll just go around. If they decide to vote against the sound money bill, we'll just run somebody against them. If we support you, we can also fight against you. So that's the purpose of the super PAC. We have to play within the system because of how corrupt the American political system is. I mean, we can do all the grassroots we want. He's been doing grassroots for almost a decade in Missouri, and he gets stopped every single time by leadership. Jim Forsyth and I made the decision to start a super PAC because of that exact same reason. We saw the roadblocks from leadership, and we've decided we have to get these people out of office and help elect our sound money friends into office so we can start bringing freedom through sound money. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you so much. I'll be at the tent if you have any other questions or comments.